So I just made a video about my broken arm in Alien Isolation, and lo and behold, a few hours after that, I get word that Alien 5 is being made. So I need to talk about that right now. I am super excited that the series is returning after 18 years, but there are a few things I'm worried about. As soon as I saw the announcement for the film, I was like, okay, well, who's the director? So I googled it, and I found this guy called Neil Blomkamp, and I'm like, okay, well, who's him? Never heard of him. So I looked him up, and the only thing that I am familiar with from him, as far as I'm aware, is District 9. I watched that movie, and I thought it was pretty good, and most people did too. So that seemed like a good sign at first, but there are a few things to still be concerned about. The first thing is that even though District 9 was a really critically acclaimed film, he only directed it. And I'm not trying to put down directors or say it's an easy job. It's obviously very hard, and it's obviously one of the most involved when it comes to filmmaking. But just as a defense here, every single aspect of filmmaking, even the most unnoticed people in the credits reel at the end of films, like, they all need to be on top of their game to make a film truly a masterpiece. But I'm digressing a little bit. Point is, he directed District 9, but he didn't do much else. Take Elysium, for example, a film that came out a few years ago. He wrote the script, he produced it, and he directed it. And it looked visually stunning, like absolutely stunning, but the reviews were not all that great. They said that the story was mediocre at best, poor at worst. I mean, I'm not going to judge him just based off of that. I don't really know how much experience he has with script writing. I don't know if he's done more work, and if he has, I don't know if Elysium is par for the course or if it was a flop for him, and he's usually a really great script writer. But I am a little bit worried because he's not just the director. There's no confirmation, at least as far as I'm aware, that he is writing the script, but it's likely because he is the one who actually pitched the idea to Fox. He brought concept art in and pitched the idea for the film, and they greenlit it. So you know, he has a basis for what he wants in the story, if not a script already. And normally I would say that it's a good sign that it's already greenlit, that it would potentially be a good story. But that's not the case, because every single film we see that's not independently produced, you know, has to go through the greenlight process. And obviously, we get a lot of crap every year. We also get a lot of good stuff, and every once in a while we get a masterpiece. But it's very far and few in between, so that's not really saying much. The other thing I'm worried about is the visual style. As I said, Neil has a very, very good grasp on cinematography, but if you look at District 9, Elysium, and his new film coming out in like a few weeks or months or whatever called Chappie, they all look exactly the same, like copy and paste type of thing. And I don't really know if he was trying to set those things in the same universe and the same general time frame. If that's the case, then I could see that happening, but in my limited scope of his work, it looks to me more like a one-trick pony type of thing. I mean, what he does really well, makes it really beautiful, but he needs to have more variety under his belt to truly make great films and stop making all these poor and run-down future-esque type of films. You know, you need to step into more variety. And the Alien series is also a very poor and run-down type of future, but it looks visually different. I mean, the colors are different. The atmosphere and color scheme of the Alien franchise is very metallic, very claustrophobic and wet and dark and scary, which is not what those films were. So I'm a little bit worried about that. The second thing I'm worried about, which kind of also ties into whether or not Neil has good script writing ability, is the way the story is going to go. But I'm more worried about where they're going to go with how the series has gone so far. Now, there is something that gives me hope here, and that's this particular concept art right here of Ripley and Corporal Hicks still alive. And mind you, this was concept art for Alien 5. Well after Alien 3, where Hicks was killed off screen. So he obviously has some kind of plan for him. And they could very well just do some kind of really crappy Deus Ex Machina and make Hicks alive somehow. But that would be really, really stupid in my opinion. Not only would it be hard to make it work, but at the same time, they would have lost the opportunity to go back and pretend like 3 and 4 never happened, which I think would be the best move. Personally, I enjoyed Alien 3, particularly the assembly cut, which is a half hour longer than the original. Anyone that says that it's horrible or whatever, you should really go and like get the Alien anthology here and watch that version of the film, and then watch all the special features of behind the scenes and everything. And this is not paid product placement, by the way. This is me. Like I'm telling you, this is amazing stuff. But there's just a whole bunch that went on behind the scenes of that film. It changed directors like 3 or 4 times before David Fincher got a hold of it, and the same thing with the script and all this kind of stuff, and reshooting things all the time. Like, it was just a hot mess. So the fact that David Fincher was able to make it as cohesive as it was with the time that he had is absolutely amazing. Not to mention that even though I don't think it stands up nearly close enough to the first 2 films as far as greatness is concerned, it was good. I did enjoy it. But anyway, I digress. Point is, I wouldn't have been too worried about them keeping in the timeline with Alien 3, but if they're going to forget Alien 4, which I think they should, they would have to forget Alien 3 as well, because at the end of Alien 3, Ripley dies, and that's why they do the whole alien resurrection thing with Ripley being cloned with alien DNA in her and stuff. So, like, just to avoid that entire plot point completely, they would need to forget that, and that's not a bad thing, especially if Corporal Hicks will be alive, which is something I hope that they do. On the other side of them potentially moving forward with Alien Resurrection's ending, which was Ripley and Call being landing on Earth to see a destroyed and desolate Paris, which also suggested that the rest of the world might be that way as well, would not leave very much to be explored there. Alien Resurrection really ruined the series for me in 2 major ways. The first, as I'm already talking about, is the ending, because the aliens, even though it would really suck for the people that would survive on Earth to meet an alien, they would most likely be in a very small colony, or maybe like underground, kind of like a Gurren Lagann type thing, and that would suck for them. But the reason that the aliens are so scary and so terrifying is because they are parasites. They infect people, and they are attracted to large populations. They infect large populations and nest in those populations. If there's like a small group of surviving humans dispersed throughout Earth in various colonies, that wouldn't be very menacing, at least as far as the alien threat is concerned. I mean, you know, there would be people dying, and they would maybe make a few more aliens, but it wouldn't be to the extent of Aliens or Alien Isolation, which, as I keep saying, was an amazing game. If it's not considered canon, it should be. But you know, that's the threat of the aliens. They decimate life on a grand scale, and that would just kind of water down the whole experience if they went on with that destroyed Earth type ending. The other thing that ruined the series from Alien Resurrection is Ripley's character. The reason that Ripley was so amazing throughout the first 3 films was because she was a normal person that was brought into contact with this terrifying creature. She did not have the knowledge or the expertise or the physical strength to really deal with this thing. She got by the skin of her teeth in the first film, and in the second film, even though she had knowledge about it, how it lived, how it fed, how it breeded, you know, all this kind of stuff, she was still terrified of it. She didn't want to go anywhere near them. And in Alien 3 too, she was also terrified of the creature. So every single time she was still just as terrified as before, but she overcame adversity and she tried to lead these people around her to safety, and for the most part it worked, at least throughout the entirety of the films themselves, until everybody pretty much dies at the end. Spoilers. But you know, that was her character. But in Alien Resurrection, she gets these alien powers, this super strength and super senses and super healing and stuff, and this kind of like feral nature to her, and that just makes her, makes her still like really powerful and really strong as a character, but not that kind of strong. She's not strong as like a person overcoming adversity, overcoming human limitations. She's strong because she's overpowered, because she's almost like a superhero. and she's no longer afraid of the aliens because she has this like kind of like psychic connection with them, and she's not afraid of them anymore, rather accepting of them, and they're accepting of her. I mean, they get the chance to kill her and they don't. You know, they pretty much like just take her to their nest as one of their own. And that really ruins the series. So I hope for that reason that they do not continue where Resurrection left off. And on the flip side of the whole Corporal Hicks concept art giving me hope that they might return to as if Alien 3 and 4 never happened, the thing that I'm concerned about, regardless of whether that's true or not, is this concept art of alien armor around Ripley. For that, I see two potential ways that they might pull that off. The first is that it might be a further mutation from her alien DNA from Resurrection, which would be an absolute no-no for me. I don't need to explain that. I just spent like 5 minutes talking about that. And it would just further ruin everything. The other thing I could see is that it might be like a suit of armor created by the Earth government to try to combat the aliens. If that's the case, then I might be a little bit more accepting of it. Still wary, but kind of accepting. The reason being that I would be accepting is because Aliens and Alien Isolation, again, balanced very well action sequences with horror. Alien, and especially Alien Isolation, mostly because I'm personally playing through that scenario, made me terrified. It made me terrified, but it also had some really cool action sequences in it. They balanced it really well. So, having action in a new Alien movie will not be a bad thing necessarily, nor will the armor necessarily be a bad thing. The thing that I am worried about, though, is how they're going to balance it. Like, are they going to actually make the film scary? Are they going to just like throw everything out and continue down the road of Alien Resurrection, where it really wasn't scary at all? They tried to do action sequences in that film, but even the action sequences fell flat. Are they going to try to continue down that road and pretty much deny the roots of the series, like Dead Space 3 or Resident Evil 5 and 6? Or are they going to return to their roots, like Alien and Aliens, which they should? They should return to those roots. But that's what I'm concerned about. I'm not sure how they're going to balance it out. Are they going to try to make it mostly scary and with a few action sequences, or are they going to try to make it mostly action and completely unlike the film series should be? Or even if they do try to make it more scary than it is action-y, are they going to succeed in doing that? Because the Alien franchise has been dead for a long time, save for Alien Isolation, which I think was a great step in reviving the series in all aspects. But it's been dead for a long time, and people are very desensitized by things. Like, people are no longer terrified by the xenomorph. I mean, it's a part of pop culture now. It's a trope. People know all about it. It's going to be hard to shock people with facehuggers and chest bursters and a second projectile mouth. It's going to be hard to scare people or gross people out with gore, because people watch gore fests all the time. Even if they're bland and very patterned, they're still desensitizing people. But even if that's going to be difficult to scare people, they need to still try. They need to try to return it to its roots. But anyway, that's all the thoughts I have, and honestly, the video has gone on a long time, a lot longer than I wanted it to, so I apologize for that, but hopefully you guys saw truth in what I said. Whatever your ideas are, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, have your own ideas and speculations, post in the comments and let me know, because I would love to read them. Yeah, if you like the video, leave a comment, leave a like and subscribe. Already gonna comment. And yeah, I guess in summary, pretty much the things that I'm worried about is whether or not the director is going to be pull off the scripting and the atmospheric feel of the film, and what direction they're going to take with the storyline, as far as, is it going to forget 3 and 4, or is it going to continue with, and how are they going to incorporate some of that concept art into this? I could see both going potentially well and potentially not well. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.